Hi, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Neighbors to Know. We have two special guests with us for today's episode. Two neighbors in Bedford who have made a fantastic movement come to our town that I'm just personally very blessed to introduce the both of them to you. Before I do that, I want to share an authentic story from me as to how I learned about this whole thing. Obviously, we have some props. I don't paint just for fun or really ever, but I will be today, and you can learn how to do that too. So I also work at Bedford TV, which many of you probably already know. And everyone goes through moments where they're stressed out. If you don't, then congratulations. I don't know how you do it. But you know, and people have different coping mechanisms of what they do. I know some people have mementos they keep in their pockets to calm them down. There's just different things. So anyway, being here on Bedford TV, sometimes I will just go and take a walk down Great Road. Probably about 6 months or so ago. It wasn't winter time, it was the springtime, so maybe not quite 6 months. I was having a tough day. Lots of things were going on for me, and I just needed to breathe. So I went down, took a walk down Great Road, and didn't want to take a half-hour walk, so I made a right from Great Road onto the narrow gauge trail, which is that trail that's by the Veterans Park, by where the statue is with the Minuteman. So I walked down there, and mostly just because of nature. Nature is very calming for me, and that was the whole goal, of just to have quiet and just birds, or hopefully not fish or cats, whatever nice sounds there were to calm me down. And as I'm walking, I look over to the side and I see a whole bunch of color, which intrigues me. So I look down and there's a whole bunch of rocks, and they all have sayings on them. So I bend down and I'm reading all these different rocks that are down there. They're painted with all these different things that are there. And some of them I'm like, no, like be quiet, that's not what I mean. And then I'll find one and I'm like, that's how I'm feeling right now, and that's what I need. So, for example, my most recent one is this one, and if you can see, it says "Be You," not like the university, B-E-U. And I think there's people sometimes that have a hard time just being themselves and being authentic. And I could write a script for days about what I'm going to interview people about, but the whole point is you just have to be yourself. There's no one else out there that's like you but you. So I took my B-U rock, B-E-U rock, and grabbed it, walked back to work with it, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be myself, and that's who I am. Stuck it in my pocket. Then when I got to my car, realized it hurt my pocket, so I put it in the car, and every time I sit in the car, it just reminds me of that. There's a huge one that I took that I actually keep at work that says, grow through what you go through. And I personally have been through quite a lot in my life. And I have grown through all the things that I've gone through. So I reached out because I wanted to find out who did this whole program. How did this whole thing start? And I'm taking pictures on Instagram and hashtagging them, but I said I want to find out who's responsible for this. And I'm actually weirdly getting goosebumps right now talking about it because, and I'm not usually the one to get all like to cry or anything, but it's been a huge thank you that I wanted to give. Personally too, besides what's given to the community, because it's really helped me out in some tough times. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to two people that have helped bring this program to us, and that is Elena Pellegrino and Carpenter. Thank you so much. So this is my thank you, and boy, that really, I didn't even intend to do that, but I have gone through a lot, and that rock garden has been a huge, you know, like sometimes people need someone to be a rock, and sometimes you just need a rock to be a rock.
Definitely.
And so that's my story with how I wanted to thank both of you for bringing this project to Bedford. And I'm just extremely happy and grateful to be able to say that to you in person.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah.
So I'll start with you, Elena. So the project, well, you can mention what it is, but then I want to hear a little bit about you and what brought you to bringing this project to Bedford.
No, definitely. Similar to you, I was just on vacation down the Cape, and on one of the beaches, same thing. I saw this like colorful display, went online, and same thing happened to me. So it's kind of like same thing. I was like, oh, we don't have this in Bedford. So I just felt I'm a therapist, so like I just know how important it is to kind of need those things in life, like these, like whether it's just feeling positive. Life is stressful, life is hard. So even if it's something as simple as a rock with words on it, yeah. So I went immediately, did my little search. So we need this in this town. Went to a town meeting, proposed the idea. Found that cute little spot along the narrow gauge trail, and then I know we're going to go on to the next. But then we grew with as when you go to Angela to talk, and we just kind of let it grow here in town. Yeah.
So a little bit about you personally. You said you're a therapist, but apparently you're a movie star, which I didn't find out about until somewhat recently.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, that's not. You've met Matthew McConaughey, or at least seen him.
So yeah. So
a little bit about you.
So I am a mother of two here in Bedford. I have a fourth grader and going to fourth grade, going to seventh grade. I'm a caretaker by nature. That's why I'm a therapist. So when I was, right after I had my first child, I was like, I need something for me. And so I saw this thing to be on a movie, as an extra. So I was like, oh, let me check this out. And then I realized all these movies were in town, and it was almost like a spa day for me. They feed you, they do your hair and makeup. I was like, oh, I'm getting paid to get my hair and makeup done and, hang out with movie stars, I guess. So it was just a little side thing I do. So yes, if anyone in town thinks they saw me in the background of some movie, you probably might have. So yeah, so when I'm not being a therapist and I'm not volunteering in town and I'm not painting rocks and I'm not being a mom, I might be in the background of a movie.
You were mentioning outside before we went on air that you weren't always as outgoing.
No. So yeah, for me personally, like even just sitting here somewhat comfortably is kind of an accomplishment. I was painfully shy growing up. Used to get like really nervous just doing an oral presentation school. Fainted, very, very shy, like had my head down. So part of why I am a therapist is I'm like, I don't want other people feeling this way, I'm like, so I went through my own therapy and I was like, I want to give back. I mean, kind of the same way the rocks. I just am always about like energy and giving back. And I feel like if we have the time and the gift to give back just the way you're feeling thankful, I'm the same way. It's all about karma and giving back and making others feel good. So
you don't mind my asking, what was it that turned it around for you, that you were able to get from that place from not wanting to do a presentation in school to then going on set at these huge movies? Was there some turning point for you?
Yeah, I think I just said, life is short and I'm tired of feeling uncomfortable. So I just want to be more comfortable in my own skin and feel good about myself. And I feel like I as a therapist, I see other people in pain and I just am like, there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. So you can have a life. Like I said, life is already stressful as it is. Same way that rock brightened your day. Life does not have to be that painful and stressful if you have a different attitude, I guess. Right. So can't control life, but you can help control yourself, I guess.
Right. I've been told that a lot. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control your responses to it. And I think that part of this helps to ease your responses a little bit because it feels like you're not alone. Somebody made this rock. Yeah. I don't even know who it was, and whoever it was, thank you.
Well, it's all about connection. I mean, a big thing in life is we feel alone. So just feeling like someone else is feeling this way. That's why we identify with movies, books. We want to get, songs even. Like we just connect with other humans and we don't feel alone with an emotion. So it speaks to you, like literally. So it's just a nice feeling to keep us going. So yeah.
So you had the petition that you went to the town for. I imagine it was approved.
Yes.
And then Angela, you saw the petition?
Yes. So I actually started this. It was around the election, feeling really down about, just how the world was, and found out about this project and just felt very inspired to, spread some more kindness and love in the world. And so I actually started doing it at my school. So I teach in Lexington. So we did a community night there, and that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I think. And then when I saw it on the Bedford Citizen that Elena had done the petition and we were going to open a site here, I immediately messaged her. I was like, oh my God, this is something I'm so passionate about. I would love to help in any way. She was so kind to let me help, and it's been great because I had no idea who she was. She had no idea who we were.
Yeah.
Talk about the connection.
You didn't know each other.
We had
No,
and so
literally
it was just a Facebook message saying, hi, my name is Angela. I see that you're doing a kindness run. And it's great because now we've become friends and we see each other other, and it's great. It's a great connection.
I had no idea that you didn't know each other before.
No, we were just chatting before this. That it's about a year anniversary it was in August last year that I did this, and September we officially opened. So it's about a year anniversary. Yeah.
So it's the Kindness Rocks project, which is international at this point.
Yeah, it really is.
And the person, John Kinsley, who was doing a show right before us, had heard of it too, which is interesting because it comes from all different dynamics.
Yeah.
But you said that you actually met the person who started the whole thing.
Yeah, it was just like a funny happenstance. We were up at the Cape a couple weekends ago, just for like a weekend away. And we stopped at Sandy Neck Beach, which is where she started. The first Inspiration Garden is there. And we had planned to go so I could drop off some of the rocks there. And, went down the path, and I see this woman, and I tell my husband, I'm like, oh my God, I think that's her. And he's like, well, go introduce yourself. And so it was just a funny, like the stars aligned for us to meet. And she wasn't even supposed to be there because she was supposed to be prepping for her the show, the Kindness Rock show at the Cape Cod Museum. But it was just so awesome to chat with her and just again talking about the connections and how she didn't really envision this to be how it is, and it's not her project. It's become everyone's project. Anybody who makes a rock, they're helping this movement of spreading kindness and helping someone that might just need to see a message that just changes their day.
So that's Megan Murphy.
Yes,
is the one who started it.
Yeah, and she lives in Cape Cod, and it was just, if you look at her website, she has a video of how the whole project got started, and it's so inspiring. Like I'm watching it, I'm like tearing up because she had no idea about, she didn't think that she was starting something. She was just taking a walk, happened to have a Sharpie on her and saw a rock and wrote a really nice cute message and left it on the beach. And then her friend was going through a really rough day that day and also happened to be taking a walk on the beach and saw the rock and called her and was like, oh my God, this rock was made for me. And then that was what inspired this whole movement, and it's caught on everywhere, international.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I went on the website, and you can just get completely immersed in that website,
really
looking at everything. Because I assume because your Facebook page is, when I went to the rock garden there and I hashtag and I Instagram, I went on your Facebook page to get more information about it, and then I saw your name, and I remember you from the BEF Bash with your sunglasses, and that was a fun night. But on a side note, but I didn't know who you were at all until
we're relatively new in town. We moved 3 years ago from New York State, so.
Oh, where in New York State?
So we grew up in Albany, and then we were in Rochester, and then also in Binghamton, New York as well.
Oh,
so we were kind of all
I
over.
went to graduate school in Binghamton.
Oh, very nice. Yes.
Let's talk about these rocks a bit more. Sure. Right now, you have 3 rock gardens that are in Bedford. And in those rock gardens, I guess we kind of have a makeshift Bedford TV rock garden right here.
We're missing the sign. We should have bought a sign.
Yeah,
they have designated signs.
Yes.
And what's on the sign that makes it distinct?
Well, so we say the Kindness Rocks Project, and then underneath it says Bedford MA, and then we have the hashtag of Bedford MA Rocks, so that anybody who happens to come to these gardens can find out not only about the project itself, but then our little town's garden.
Right.
Because there's tons of these gardens everywhere, and it seems as though most towns have their own little hashtag. So we came up with Bedford MA Rocks.
Yeah,
and that's perfect.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
Yeah.
What's been cool too is if you follow the Facebook page or Instagram page, we've seen some of our rocks found in New York, or I think it's been as far as, I can't remember what state, but it was another state. It's just wow, someone picked it up, used it for however long, dropped it. That's the whole cool thing about it, that they kind of literally tell a story.
Right. I joke about it sometimes. That's breadcrumbs. Anywhere I go, I just drop them anywhere. Because I remember the one time in Woburn, I was at Target and I just put one there, and then someone was like, "Oh my goodness, there's a rock here."
Yeah,
So it's funny how it spreads. But that's it. You just leave it, and hopefully you're going to make someone smile or someone's day a little bit happier. So.
And the kindness spreading, that's what it's all about, connecting people to people. I go to Ginger quite a bit because they're right here, and there's a different rock there almost every week, which is interesting because I thought it was you guys that put them there. And then I saw, so Shortstop Cafe is also another one, and
Callahan's
Callahan's Karate.
And then there's a separate sign. It's not ours, but someone had put one out at Bedford Farms.
Farms.
So,
that's right.
so we can drop rocks
Yeah.
off there.
Yeah.
It's not technically Bedford MA Rocks, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's still the Kindness Rocks Project, which is really what this project is all about.
So what do you guys do in the wintertime when, I mean, do you take the rocks down? Because it's snowing, they're going to be covered.
Right. Well, so that's actually why we have the indoor options, because we were talking
last
right
year.
before the winter started, we were like, oh my gosh, like no one's going to see these rocks. And like, that's usually when people are starting to get a little blue because of the weather.
Yes.
And so we reached out to Shortstop and to Callahan's, and they were both so lovely and said, absolutely, we'll host. And then now it's actually, they're okay having them year round inside, which is great.
Well, one surprise I wanted to throw at you, because I asked our new executive director, Katie Duvall, if we could be one of your sites for the wintertime as a Kindness Rock spot and have right when we
that's
walk in the book.
awesome.
We have all sorts
Yay.
of walks of life that come in here.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's grown-ups.
awesome. Right.
And I mean, I've had several of them, and I put them back, and I feel like I need to replenish to pay it forward.
We'll have to
but
make a sign
we'd
for
be
you.
super honored to have you guys.
That's awesome.
represented
Thank you.
here. And I
That's
think it would
awesome.
just, it's been such a big help. And it's funny because the one that you brought today, well, one of the ones that you brought today says, do what you love what you do, which is where this whole show came from. And everything, it hits someone in some way personally. And there's other ones that, you know, positivity is a choice, and you know I've learned that. Okay, so I would put that one back down, but be someone's sunshine today, and that's kind of my point in our show today. I want this episode to bring sunshine to someone that might be going through a tough time. So if you, I mean, you know, if people are, there's always, no one's perfect. Someone's going through
Absolutely
something
not,
that's
right.
going on.
We all
and,
have
and
it.
often people just gotta close it up and don't want to talk about things.
Right.
And this is a kind of thing where you don't have to talk about things, and you can go and almost talk to yourself, really, if you're at the, you know, maybe not so much a shortstop, but if you're on the, you know, on the trail,
yeah, sure.
and just pick up something that means something to you. So,
Well, that's another great thing about making them. Like, I think about myself, like, this has been such a, like, a therapeutic thing to do, because, like, as I'm going through something that's hard, like, I'm, you know, Googling, like, positivity or like you know kindness quotes or just something like uplifting, like sunshine quotes, and then like you read those messages and then it comes into your brain and you're like, oh my goodness, like I need to stop being so negative about this XYZ that's going on in my life, like let me be positive as well. So it almost helps myself, but then I put it out for someone else, you know.
So that's perfect timing for now, because you guys came prepared.
Yes.
We have rocks that are painted, rocks that are not. Lots of paints, and I am not an artsy person whatsoever.
Well, you don't
Neither
have
are
to
we.
be.
We're not either.
Yeah, so I finally got to hold a bottle of, or tub of Mod Podge, which I've heard of is this you know anomaly for me. What is Mod Podge? So we're going to take some time right now to go ahead and paint some rocks, and then when we come back, we'll see. It doesn't take very long to put them together, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Awesome, yeah.
All righty. Okay, so we're back on. We have our supplies all set to go, but now I have no idea what I'm doing. So I grabbed this rock.
You
got this. That's exactly
so
right.
I don't misspell something, but all right. So where do we start with this whole thing to get a rock painted?
All right. Well,
It's
we got
all
to
you.
start with the rock. So, so I actually took these from Sandy Neck, which is actually where Megan gets all of her rocks as well. So they're super smooth, all different sizes and things. But you can also buy just like bags of landscaping rocks at like Home Depot, Lowe's, like those kind of stores. But you just want to make sure that they're relatively flat. Like there's a lot of like the little pebble ones that are really bumpy, which I mean, they're lovely to use. You can make some really fun ones, like all the crack ones I always say, like we were born to be real, not to be perfect, you know, something cutesy like that. But you're looking ideally for something flat, and then once you've got your rocks, then it's time to paint. So, you know, you can just find acrylic paint anywhere, like, and usually it's more economical to get the big tubes of this, and then you mix in your own colors and have fun that way.
Yeah, so I mean, some of you at home might have like
those are what I
these,
have.
and these are acrylics, because the washables and poster paints will wash out, so this be acrylic. So especially if kids or yourself are using it, make sure you've got like stuff covered, because it could stain. So yeah, you got these already any color you want. But what I like to do economically, raised to be frugal and wise. So Job Lot actually had these. They're like $2.50 each. You can obviously mix. Remember your primary colors from kindergarten. You got green. You got then you mix some white. You got lavender with a little bit of dark purple. So you can have every color you want basically.
All right, so let's get started. So I'm just going to take a color. I'm going to take blue.
It's like school.
It is like school. So take a color that you want. Take a rock that you want. Oh my God,
Okay.
I get this open.
Take a flat one.
Yeah.
All right, so then I just usually squirt a little bit on. That's a lot, but that's a little.
So are we just mixing colors right now?
Yeah, so just pick a color that you want to paint with. So I always like to put white with mine, just to kind of lighten it a little bit, make it a little bit more
Oh, that's the Mod
pretty.
Podge.
Yeah, so here's your white if you want white.
See,
with
now
it.
I don't even, I have to think about color.
And actually,
I'll do a light
lot
blue.
of, I've seen a lot of rocks that are just white and then the message really pops. So if you
Yeah.
want to do, you could paint this one white and then write it with a colorful, message
I'll
instead.
kick myself up a notch and go outside of my comfort zone. Can I borrow that,
Sure.
Lou?
So once you've got your paint set here, you can mix it together, or you can leave it like this and get kind of a swirly look if you're looking for that. And then you take your rock that you have. What I always like to do first, and sometimes I forget, is I like to test the rock for which way sits better.
Yes.
Because some of the rocks here are they're smooth, but they're kind of misshapen. So if they rock kind of strangely. So that's what I always like to test first, of which way does it sit well.
The rock rocks.
The rocks, there you go. And then once you've got the side of the rock that you want, you just have at it, and you paint the paint on it. So then you go ahead and just start smearing the paint on. You can get fancy and put in a little bit of white to make it look swirly. And you just really want not a too thick of a layer, but you do want to cover the top of the rock. And I usually like to just go around, and then.
Yeah, you don't even have to do both
it.
sides.
I'm just-
No, I usually don't
I'm
do
just having
both
fun
sides.
making my
I know,
color.
it's fun. It's very therapeutic.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is. And there are people on Instagram that go nuts with their rocks and they.
So you just
do,
paint the top?
Yeah, I usually just paint the top. There was a time that I was trying to really be economical and getting two quotes in.
That's really pretty.
2 quotes in for the price of one. So I would paint one side and then let that dry and then paint the other side, and then I would have 2 different quotes. But yeah, usually I just paint the top of it.
Yeah, and we've seen some really cool rocks just here
Yeah.
in Bedford. Like people have made ladybugs. And
Yeah,
just,
they're cute.
So yeah, that's the real fun part about it. You just don't know,
What's your secret in not having lines?
I actually really like the lines.
I
I
think
think
it gives it character.
Yeah. I like the look of having a little bit of white
Yeah.
smeared in, so it's almost it gives it a little bit more movement.
Okay.
Beautiful. That looks awesome.
It's green like my shirt.
No, that's a beautiful
I
color.
love it. It's my
It'll be
favorite
beautiful.
color, actually, teal. That's
Here,
also,
do another one.
Yeah,
Do
See,
lots of
this
fun
actually
ones.
washes out, so I can
Ellen, you want
do one
one?
of those.
sure.
Oh, that's what the
I
water's
was going to
for.
do the big one.
Yeah.
You can put
Gotcha.
a nice big
Yeah,
quote
so
up
a little
here.
bit of water. And
Um,
so yes. We
And I-
love contributions here in town, so please feel free to bring rocks, drop the rocks, and keep our little lovely dark path that you saw bright up with colors as you're walking along.
So you had a table out at the Bedford Walkabout.
Yeah.
How was the
yeah.
success with that, with people coming over?
it was great. We had so many
Yeah.
kids coming over. Oh my goodness! And where was the one you brought?
Oh yeah, this
We
was
found this hilarious quote
one
at
of
the
the
end of
kids
the
wrote
night.
the "Smile while you still have teeth," and that
It
was
was-
a really
we
sweet
were
part
laughing
about it.
so hard
I
when
had
we
to
saw
keep
that
this.
one.
We'll drop it eventually, but
That's funny.
They came up with some amazing quotes, and
Yeah.
it came from the kids themselves.
That
It
was
wasn't
We
really
didn't
just-
have a
nice.
list.
No,
They
no,
just-
no, no. We didn't know.
No,
There was no
yeah.
list. It was just something it came from them, and I feel like that's the powerful part, because the children, they're our future, and if we
Yeah.
can teach them to be kind and teach them that just even a random act of kindness can really change someone's life, our world's gonna be just that much better
yeah, no, totally.
down the road. Oh, I like
This
that
is
color.
very
It's pretty.
therapeutic.
I don't know, it just kind of came out.
I know. Isn't it funny when you mix the colors and
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, wow.
But even before I went to talk to you, I needed to print out things because at the top of my head it's hard to think.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know what sounds good when I read it, but to have to create it on your own is a whole other ballgame.
Right, right.
Well, that's what's fun about painting too. Is
Yeah.
you start with one color and then it just morphs into something else when you add in another color, and then you know, then if you want to get really crazy, sometimes I go down the deep end and I do like a whole rainbow, and then I've got like paint everywhere, and I'm like, wow, things went kind of far.
And that's the other nice thing about the rocks. I mean, some you can just, you know, if you decide to keep it, you just keep it for decor on your desk, remind yourself a little inspiration. But a lot of people like the real small ones. For a long time, I had one about this size. I just kept it in my pocket. It was just very grounding and like just reminds you to just stop and you know, just all right, take that breath, or you know, whatever you need to do to just.
Right. Well, Megan at the Cape Cod Art Show, she had a bunch of plain rocks that she had written on with white, with just like words, and then it was so awesome. Like she had like a little sand basket area, and like you could. She had all different words on them, and then you were supposed to make a sentence for the next person to see. And like, so you don't even have to paint. Like you could just find the rocks and just use either black or white and just write a word on there.
What's phase 2 now that we
All right,
painted
so we had the paint, so the paint's done. You definitely want to wait until the paint is dry before you start writing on them. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do. You could just do like a regular plain old Sharpie. You could use the paint Sharpies. We got like the thicker and the thinner ones there, and then I found those paint pens, the ones with like the white body.
These?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So like it's very similar to the Sharpies, but I find that these sometimes will splatter or like bleed a little bit on the rocks, and I felt like those actually are a little bit better to use.
So they last longer.
They
like
last
in
a
different
lot
weather.
longer.
That's why the paint ones are better. The sharp, but I mean they're still good.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
And then the thin Sharpies are good for writing the
Right.
hashtag on the back.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so it's good to have just, especially the Kindness Rocks project written, just so that, you know, if you didn't know about the project, well, like you, like when you saw, you're like, oh my goodness, there's, what is this project about? And then we put our
Yeah, so we put the
hashtag
2 hashtags on it. Yeah.
And then from there, you just gotta get creative and think about what would be, well, not creative, but think about, like for you, like you saw a rock that really spoke to you, like what would you want someone to see that would like, you know, make them
What would
happier?
be my message to somebody else?
Yeah. And so like what I do is I actually started a Google Doc that I have like all my favorite quotes, but then like I like to just Google like kindness or positivity or like, you know, sunshine or rainbows or something. Like when I painted a bunch of rainbow ones and I looked up just rainbow quotes. And then that's how, you know, I found a bunch of one that it kind of matches the rock.
There's really no way
There's
to go
no
wrong.
wrong way.
I mean, my
Absolutely
kids
not.
have just made a simple happy face. Like I painted the rock yellow and just
Well, and then your daughter did Dream Big. That was a huge hit that night.
Oh, yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
that's
one?
right,
And
yeah.
so, like, I mean, something so simple as
Yeah.
Dream Big can really just can change
and
someone's
bring
outlook.
hope or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just making
Smile, breathe. Like this one is like perfect.
Breathe. That's
breathe.
a big one.
That
one-
Because if you're
I have
stressed out and you're having like a panic attack or something, sometimes you don't remember to breathe.
Exactly. I have that in my
Yeah.
car. Just a really thin one. that
Just
says
breathe.
Yeah.
Is that copyrighted?
Probably not.
I know.
So yeah, so then
Okay.
when I first started the project, I looked at Megan's rocks and I was like, oh my goodness, like her handwriting is so beautiful, but like the way that she, like the wording, like the way that her letters came out, like they were really, it was like almost like a brush, and I was like, how on earth am I supposed to use like a brush like this to write it? And so I emailed her, or I messaged her, and she's like, so she uses the
Prisma.
Prisma
Yeah,
colors, and it's like a dual side, so there's a really thin side,
Okay.
and then there's the thicker brush side. So that's what the thicker one is, what these look like, and then the thinner one, you know, you can just write on smaller rocks or whatever. So, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to watch you first with how you're writing.
All right, so since you liked the breathe one so much, I'll do that one.
Well, this is about you, though. It's not about me. So,
Well, but that's
what's
a
your
good,
favorite?
that's a good,
What's the message that you would want to get across to people that are watching you right now? If there's one kindness thing that you wanted to share right now.
that is a lot
Sorry.
of pressure. I would say.
Someone's watching right now who's really stressed out.
I like this one. This is like my new favorite one. Is be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.
Ooh.
So that's a really good one. It's just like, you know, you can be you, exactly. Or be someone's sunshine. Smile at someone. Another cute one is if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours.
Oh, I love that.
Like that one's really good.
Yeah.
Or like think positive.
I like the first
think
one that
good-
you said. Will that fit on one that you just did?
Which one? The be yourself one?
No, someone doesn't have a smile on their face.
You could probably fit that one on this one.
Okay.
Like your teal one could definitely fit that
No
one.
pressure. But
No pressure. All right,
Okay,
so I'll
so-
write. So I'm thinking when I'm looking at the rock, I'm like, all right, which way does it sit better? Like, is there a direction that it looks better? This one seems to be pretty standard. So then if I just were to write breathe,
And is it ink or paint?
This
in the
is paint.
pens? Okay.
So then, there you go.
Nice. You have such pretty handwriting.
It's the brush. It really is
Yeah,
not
it's
my
like a
handwriting. It's just
brush,
like the
yeah.
way that it follows. And then this one, so we already put on the back the Bedford MA Rocks hashtag, and then the Kindness Rocks project.
And you do that so that it could end up being in Saskatchewan. It actually is in Canada.
Yes, yeah.
I say I'm making that up, but it is in Canada.
It's amazing, yeah.
And then if you want to, like, you could get fancy and like take one of these and like do dots around it, and make it like prettier or whatever. But
Okay.
honestly, to me, I'm like a minimalist. Like, it's just like, that's it. Just the message speaks to the person.
What is it? Is it take one or leave one for inspiration, take one for motivation?
Yeah,
No.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
so that's
the
usually-
idea is that
yeah.
like it's not just, you know, we're putting out the rocks, not just us, but you know, people are putting out. But it's that, you know, if when you see one, like you just said, like you want to replenish, like you were able to take one, so you want to give one back.
Yeah.
I was thinking on the way here about at the gas station, take a penny, give a penny.
Yeah.
You know, people don't really have pennies anymore, but it's the same thing. Take a rock, give a rock. I feel like I want to give back, and that was part of having you guys. I mean, you know, just to explain to everyone too about what this whole thing is, but then to replenish that and you know to spread that kind, because it is therapeutic.
Yeah.
To be making these. So this is my Sunday plan.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people know about it. Because even that night that we were at that table,
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, what is?" You know, I just because once you start seeing them, you start
Right.
noticing
Then you
them
start
everywhere.
noticing them. Right.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
what YouTube and Instagram is for. So we'll
Yes.
get it all out there, and
Yes,
hopefully,
yes.
so everyone will make some rocks
Yeah.
and replenish.
Yeah, so like even the ones that we just painted, like this one's pretty much dry. So you could think
Yeah.
about, I don't know how yours is looking.
Yeah,
over
I just
there.
have one.
So once it's
line.
completely dry, that's when you can, you know, take the Sharpies or paint pens or whatever, and then just write your
And
messages.
if you find a rock that's plain, like people can just write on
Yeah,
them too. Like, you don't
absolutely.
have to paint
Right,
them. And,
right.
I mean, you can just get creative. I've seen people even do like a decoupage, like you can just cut out like a magazine word and just like.
Oh, that's
put-
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need
so-
the explanation of the Mod Podge
Oh,
because
yeah.
or Mod Podge. So the painting, you know, we have everything painted. That was
Yeah.
pretty simple to do.
Right.
That was fun and relaxing, actually, in and of itself. You're letting it dry. Next step is to
Right.
write your message on there.
Right.
Whatever
So
you're
like
writing.
if you have ones that have the messages written. So the Mod Podge, I had no idea what Mod Podge was either. And so when I started doing this and she's like, oh yes, you want to put like a finishing coat. And I was like, what? And so I was like, I don't even know what Mod Podge is. And so it's basically just like a sealant. And so I'm kind of like indifferent. Like I actually like the look of an unfinished one. Sometimes I think it just looks, you know, more raw and I don't know. It's a preference of mine. Not
I
to have it
don't
like super
usually-
shiny.
Yeah.
And I also have noticed that if I Mod Podge it and then like I'm not just placing them right away and I have them like in a little box right by my door, so then I take some and drop them wherever I go. If they're Mod Podge and they hit each other, the paint does chip off. And I found that if it's not Mod Podge, it doesn't seem to happen as much. So I don't know if it's something about the Mod Podge
Yeah,
that
so
like
it's a preference.
Yeah.
I don't usually use that either. So.
but it's really easy to use. Not to open it.
do you paint it on?
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
just take like any size brush.
Yeah, or you can even use like a
Right,
like
the
a
foam
little
brushes.
Foam brush too.
And then you just like a really, really thin layer. And don't be scared because it's going to come out white. And then you're like, oh
I
my
know,
God.
that was my first thought. Like, what are you doing?
So I warn my students.
It's really glue. I mean, that's what it
Right.
really is. That's why if you wanted to cut out like a magazine word or something or an image, you can. It's like decoupage, like you're like collaging kind of on the rock.
And so like when I do this event at school, I always warn the kids. I'm like, don't be alarmed because it's going to look like your rock is ruined because it's going to be white. But like you
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
Elena, it's glue and then it's going to dry clear.
And then do you do that for your hashtag on the bottom once that's dried? Or
I
no?
don't bother to
Yeah,
because
you
I
don't
really
have to.
just if I do the Mod Podge step, it's really just to protect the top of the rock.
Okay.
And the Sharpie usually stays on the rocks.
It actually looks pretty with the white on top.
Yeah.
Well, then there you go. You mix more
Almost
blue
like a
with white.
cloud, yeah.
So this is a great
But
step
yeah.
by step, and we're going to keep going. You know, we'll finish up, but we'll keep going so that we can get things replenished down at the
Yes,
and
yeah.
Gower Garden going here too.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'll grab
awesome.
some. I'm going to take a trip out this weekend, which was just a last minute decision in the last hour to go get some rocks. And
Yeah.
actually, that was one of the things I had mentioned when I moved here from New York. I grew up on Long Island, but I went to school in Binghamton. And when I went on the beaches here, because I'm surrounded by water being in Long Island, and they're
Right.
seaweedy, but whatever, it's
Yeah.
seaweed. But you go in the water or the beaches here, and they're so rocky. And I said, this stinks because you can't just walk around because you have to watch where you're going all the time.
Right.
So I had a negative, relationship with walking along the beach because it was like a project to have to walk along the beach.
Right.
Oh wait, I didn't even mean to do that to you. So
a project. I like it.
because you had to watch where you're going.
Right.
So, but now it's like a whole different way of looking at it because now as I'm going, like I would pick up seashells.
Yeah.
Now you can pick up rocks, and
Right.
it's kind of turned my head
Well, so
around.
Sandy Neck is where this whole project started, and that rock is like that's where I got all of these really flat ones. Is when we were there a couple weekends ago.
But
you just wear like sneakers or like water shoes, and it won't really affect you. But the rocks are just like they're plentiful. Like you just
Are they? I mean, as a non-Massachusetts person, even though I live here now, are most beaches like? Do they mostly have rocks like this?
It depends. I mean, these are the Cape Cod beaches. I mean, there's some. It depends, right? Like where you are.
Yeah.
But these are like if you think of the Cape Cod as like an armpit, it's like the top. It's like it's the bicep of the Cape, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that that I mentioned earlier to you that you were asking me about, and I said, hold that thought, were the magical messages.
Oh yes, This is new to us.
yeah. It was new to
Yeah,
us,
so
both of us.
I went online yesterday on the Kindness Rocks, kindnessrocksproject.com,
Right.
which is Meekin's website.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she mentioned it in the video or if it was written down, but there's these magical messages. I think it was in the video where they're blank. They look like they're blank, and they're written on, but when you're looking at it, it looks just like this. And then when it rains is when the message appears.
What?
And there's certain kinds
That's
of rocks.
so cool.
So you can't. It's not a rock that you could get at you have to buy the rocks,
okay.
and they sell them. You can go through the kindnessrocksproject.com to find it.
awesome.
Wow.
But you buy
I'm
the
gonna
rocks
look into
through
that.
them, and they're special
that
rocks.
That's
invisible
so
ink.
cool.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
And when it rains, like because it rains, it's gloomy. People get down
Sure.
because of the
Oh, I
weather,
love that.
especially in Binghamton where it rains
Right.
like 90% of the time. And then when it rains, the message pops up.
Yeah, you can have so much
That's
fun
so
with the
cool.
rocks.
Well, you were saying that
the glow in the dark paint too. My friend made some rocks with me, and she dropped some off, and she glow in the dark. So you can just like get creative. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're gonna keep going after all this is done. But you have an event coming up that I want to make sure people know about.
Oh right.
That I read about. I don't know if the details have been all hashed out with that, but it's coming
Yeah,
up in October.
the rec department.
Yes.
Yeah. So registration isn't open until week from next week, right? And I think it's October 3rd, that Wednesday night. There's gonna be a rock painting night here in town. So. Go and register. We'd love to have people.
And we'll have all the supplies. We're going to pre-paint the rocks so that we don't have to wait like we're doing right now for them to dry.
Right.
So then when you register, you can just say, I'm interested in doing, making 10 kindness rocks or whatever. And then we'll pre-paint them for you, and then you can come. Like we'll provide all the Sharpies and stuff, and then
So people just need to show up.
just show up, register,
Show up.
Yeah.
And you can register through the Bedford Recreation Department.
Yep. So as an individual or as a family, so there'll be like a family discount.
Okay. And then if people want to learn more about, maybe not you personally, but the project in Bedford itself, where's the most visible place to find you guys and information about you?
I'd
Facebook
say
page,
probably the
right?
Facebook page. We have an Instagram page too. It's more photos, so Facebook has more like you can
The stories
words.
that we share.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really cool. Like there was people that'll like message us and say, as rocks, like just hearing that people are like, look forward to come visiting. So it's been really nice.
And what's the Facebook page so everyone can know?
Oh, the kindness. Oh my gosh.
I think it's.
I know what it is,
Kindness
but
Rocks Project
Kindness Rocks
slash
Project
like
Bedford,
Bedford, because the main project one is the Kindness Rocks.
Yeah,
Project,
so
but
if
we
you even
have
just
ours.
hashtag, it'll bring you to the page. That's how people find. So
That's how I found you guys.
Yeah. So Bedford Mass Rocks is it on, and then Kindness Rocks Project Bedford and Facebook. Yeah.
So this was I mean, very heartwarming for me. I can't seriously thank you enough because it seems like it's something small, but it's not. There's so much going on with lots of people. It's not just me personally, but everyone has something going on. And there is a lot of negativity, and I think spreading the kindness and the positive, and you're not on your own because somebody's made this, and they might have not known to make it for you, but that one rock could mean a difference, a huge difference
Yeah,
for someone and turn
absolutely.
things around. And you're having such a huge impact
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And I want to thank you personally from me.
Thanks for having us. This has been
Yeah,
really
this was
fun.
great.
And sharing the story behind all of it. So thank you, Angela, and thank you, Elena. And we're going to keep going on our own here, but I'm really happy that you watched today, and I hope you guys can make some rocks, head down to the trail and find where the garden is. The one that might have the sloppiest handwriting would be me, but you know what? That's just me being me, so it is what it is. And I do what I love, and I love what I do. So thank you so much for watching. And again, this is the Kindness Rocks Project, and I'm very happy to be able to have talked to these women today. And we hope, or I hope that, we all hope, that we brought some sunshine to you today. And if you'd like to spread that sunshine back, this is how it can be done. So thank you everyone for watching, and have a happy, positive day.